Welcome to Beyond Spend, the podcast where we explore the future of travel and expense management, accounts payable, and payments. We're bringing you the latest insights to help simplify your operations, optimize spend, and drive growth. Get ready for what's next.
Welcome to the latest episode of Beyond Spend. I'm Michele Shepard, Chief Revenue Officer at Emburse. Today we have a fantastic guest joining us. Zach Tussing, Director of Partnerships at Ellucian. Emburse and Ellucian have been working together since 2016 to help higher ed institutions take control of their spend management. What started with just 8 customers has grown to 260 institutions using Ethos-connected solutions to streamline their financial operations. And as a 5-time Ellucian Sales Excellence and Innovation Partner of the Year, we're proud to power the Ellucian Spend Management Suite, bringing travel and expense integration, card program management, and deep financial insights to colleges and universities all over the world. And speaking of higher ed finance, we're gathering up for Ellucian Live next week. It's our 9th year attending this incredible conference where leaders across the industry come together to talk about AI modernization and resource operation. We can't wait to continue these conversations, explore new ways to innovate in higher ed and in finance. So let's dive in. This episode, higher education finance teams face increasing pressure to do more with less, managing complex budgets, ensuring compliance, and adapting to shifting enrollment trends. The episode explores how AI-driven automation, real-time analytics, and seamless integrations are transforming financial operations in higher education. So with that, I'd like to open up with a few questions for Zach. Zach, as institutions continue to navigate the enrollment declines, where do you see finance teams reprioritizing their budgets, especially in areas like travel and expense and operational efficiency?
Yeah, it's great to see you and chat with you. I look forward to kind of diving into this topic. As you mentioned, we've been longtime partners and we've done a lot. And since we first started partnerships, things have really changed. Change in the expectation of institutions and the way they use technology. And that change still takes place today. One of the biggest driver that we see with in higher education is how do these institutions do more with less? Some of the ways that they addressed core processes, especially around payments, and kind of the expense management was really a manual process for these institutions. And going back to the theme of doing more with less is how are they going to do things that are going to be more effective, provide better insights, and really change the fundamental way the business operates or the institution operates. So, we've seen this kind of focus on across college campuses on how do they better compete for students? How do they better really have a shift towards the core, value proposition of those students. And one of those ways that they can do that is through software and software automation and true, kind of stack automation across their stack modernization across their technology ecosystem. So what we're seeing with a lot of our customers is not only, hey, Emburse can, really help us with our travel and expense management and the tools associated with that, and be able to more effectively streamline how institutions pay and monitor those payments, but really look into how do they integrate that into the holistic operating ecosystem of the university. A lot of that is within the Ellucian ERP stack. So how can you not only provide that information effectively to the travel and expense administrators, which has typically been where it is, but kind of have a holistic view across the institution of that data to make decisions, improve effectiveness of the organization, and drive dollars to the right areas to impact those students.
Thanks, Zach. Great points. When I think about moving from manual to automation, not just automating, the way that we did things before, the business processes that were in place in a manual way. And then we take that up a level, right? We've not only automated to become more efficient, to become more effective, to have, an impact on the bottom line for these universities, but also it opens up the opportunity to really leverage technology, trends that are evolving in a more meaningful way, right? We're ready now to adopt and implement newer technologies and capabilities that exist. So my question really is, how are higher ed institutions and colleges using AI today? How are they going beyond the reporting, the automation, and actually forecasting future spend in a meaningful way?
Yeah, I think that the data behind what Emburse does and empowering that data, not to even start on the AI, but I'll get there, is really a differentiator and an opportunity for institutions to be more effective in the way that they look at the way they spend, how they spend, the trends, and being able to really look at and forecast that. So Ellucian as an organization, we really see ourselves as a data organization. We are an ERP and a student information system collecting kind of that lifeblood data across the institution of what goes on in the administrator and within the student life. And it's amazingly critical to that is really being able to understand what are the trends that are important, that they need to plan for, that they need to more effectively budget for, as well as potentially spend differently on. Because when you combine some of the data sets that we have between our organizations, you can really start to see some interesting insights. And the work that Emburse has done and Ellucian continues to do on the AI front, in which we are trying to take some of those data sets, apply machine learning, apply institutional learning to that, and really be able to see how we can enhance the decision-making process. The decision-making process isn't always with the people you think it might be. It's often up or down, depending on the organizational responsibility. And on top of that, we really look to, how can we be much more proactive on the financial planning and forecasting front? So, we can look at, hey, there was a conference that a lot of people went to and spent on, or, we've got a new program that's going to require additional travel and expense resources for it. And those types of things can really, help them forecast and model out what future programs might look like, not just on a set capital expenditure, but also operational expenditure associated with these types of programs. So huge opportunities, and really on the AI, we think that with AI, with the the work that we've done with the integration component on Emburse, that those can really help improve accuracy and really drive the strategic budgeting process within the organization. So they have the numbers, they have the potential forecasts, and they have the variation associated with those based off multi-variable factors. And I think that that's what we really want to see with data and AI and the spend management and the finance and forecasting space in general.
Yeah, no, those are incredibly good points. And the power of that integration between Ellucian and Emburse, aggregating all of this information in a meaningful way, has a powerful impact on, predictability, future budgeting, and opportunities, right, to address some of those challenges and trends that are emerging, globally for these institutions. So let's get into, examples of how a school has leveraged that integration between Ellucian and Emburse to overcome some specific, operational bottlenecks and or pain points.
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier, there's over 260 shared customers from a meager start of 8. We've really grown that a lot. And so I think that the use cases are almost as varied as the universities that we work with. Everything from 2-year community colleges to some of the largest R1 institutions in the world. So we see, a wide variety of different use cases. And when we look at some of the key partners that we've worked with or the customers that we work with, I think of someone like the University of New Mexico that really had a huge amount of resources that were being spent on an annualized basis to do the travel and expense management aspect of what they did. And so it wasn't only the complexity of that process that they were doing with obviously submitting invoices, validating those invoices, having different cards that are being paid, personal cards, corporate cards, everything else. But I think that, at the end of the day, they saved over 35,000 hours annually in being able to address that. And they sped up reimbursement by over 75%. So it's not only an hours of time that it takes to do this type of work, but it's about the, if I've done this, I've worked with smaller companies, sometimes, work with a company that you have to put out your own credit card and you have a lot of expenses that you're running. And if they're a little bit late, you're generally your credit card company isn't so nice to be able to give you a avenue of free time. They want their money when they want it. And that's the reality of most credit cards that people are putting these expenses on. So that speed of reimbursement of an increase of 75% really is a giant factor for customer satisfaction and staff satisfaction. So it's super, important for us to not only look at the general impact of staffing, but also over the overall satisfaction rate. Another, University of Illinois, saved a bunch of hours per week, but really helped to automate the compliance reporting that they were doing. So it's not only the fact that they're, they have people that are entering or they have a more manual process or really a less integrated process that impact these institutions. But it's also, how do you have effective compliance if you have data that comes in a lot of different ways? And, within education, a lot of institutions, there's not a big carrot or a stick around that data. So they're kind of beholden to their staff to be able to report and implement that data. And that's really hard to do compliance against. So having a true authoritative source of that spending data within Emburse, super important. And it helps to improve the reporting, and it helps to improve that kind of the consistency of data across the institution. That, to my earlier point, we work directly in a resale relationship with Emburse to have that core functionality, the travel and expense management functionality, built within our products, so that information can flow in, flow out in a much more effective way and really help to benefit all customers.
Yeah, no, those case studies are truly interesting. Another one that comes to mind that was initially an Emburse, T&E customer, but through the integration with Ellucian, we were able to take it up a whole nother level, right? Eliminating 100%. This is wild to me, 100% of manual auditing. We reduced spot checking by 75%. So the back office was free, right? We were able to cut time for audit by 50%, which, created a more responsible spend culture. So all great examples. Zach, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, and when we look at this, I mean, there's so many, as mentioned, there's a lot of different types of institutions and organizations that we work with, and their requirements are vastly different. The research institutions, as mentioned in the R1 and R2 schools, or there's a lot of other schools that also have research, but the amount of spend and the amount of complexity within that, and aligning that directly to grants and aligning that directly to the respective departments, when they have contract resources, when they have, external, non kind of standard employees on these research environments, as well as purchasing everything from, $1 million CAT scan machines to your typical kind of Staples purchases. It's challenging. It's hard for those institutions to really drive research if they can't effectively manage those expense processors.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And just kind of taking it back to, newer, emerging, evolving technologies, as AI really becomes embedded in everything that we do in technology, and we deliver those capabilities, to our customers, not just for real time, analytics, but also the learnings, right? You talked about being more predictable. What does it mean when we attend this conference or we introduce this new program? Thinking about ways that AI can continue to learn, right? With agentic AI, which we have underlying in our platform, thinking about ways that will have implications on not only universities today, but as it continues to emerge, evolve, and mature. Think about how that might have an impact on these colleges, universities, and even our own integration in the future. Do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's always evolving. We want to be at the cutting edge from a research and development perspective, and really looking at the art of the possible. But when it comes to implementing within universities, we do want to do it from a measured approach. We want to make sure that what we can design or what our teams can work with AI are really going to be impactful to those institutions. So, how it changes, I think that a lot of the work that we're doing within forecasting and a lot of the kind of the general fraud detection processes that are there are all super helpful, but we want to make sure that we're meeting them and we're testing it and we're working with our customers to make sure that this is actually the support that they need. AI is great and AI does some amazing things, but we want to be measured. We want to make sure that we understand exactly how we need to support these institutions better. So I think AI with human intelligence is a lot better than AI on its own. The biggest kind of view that we have is that, how do we kind of continue to put the effort into, increasing student outcomes, bettering student outcomes, and that goes into the funding, with enrollment challenges across the country and the changing demographics. It's really how are we automating the things and creating models that will support better use of funding for those institutions to have, greater impacts on research, not just students, but greater impacts overall is against the institutional goal.
So really, really great points. Well, as we get closer and closer to Ellucian Live and our own Emburse in Motion conference, is there anything you want to share with the audience about what to expect? What's in store at Ellucian Live?
Yeah, so Ellucian Live, I don't even know what year it is, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for not knowing that. It's over 20 now, but we have over 5,000 people from higher education institutions coming down to Orlando, Florida. It's really a content-rich, content-oriented, and learning-oriented summit, where we bring in our partners like Emburse, but we also bring in so many of these institutions and thought leaders, presidents, provosts, and so on, to have a wide variety of tracks. And one of those driving tracks is really around utilization of AI and the overall modernization review. And we look at, kind of modernization is that how do you move away from a lot of those core fundamental processes that may have been in place for 20 or 30 years with some of these institutions, and look at how you can do things a little bit differently. And that's where I think that, our partnership and our partnership with some other partners really helps to shine. It's like, we're not everything for higher education institutions. We're part of an ecosystem, but driving those integrations and driving a relationship and a working relationship that we can do more together is always a driver. And I think that when we work with our institutions, it really is kind of a, look at how can we do things better? How can we share ideas? How can we, change our product roadmaps, our integration roadmaps, our working kind of product knowledge, our working institutional knowledge to help update those things. AI, modernization, front and center, but as well as the kind of how the ecosystem works better and helps deliver on the promises of higher education to the students.
Thanks, Zach. Well, we are really excited to participate at Ellucian Live. We're thrilled and honored to deliver the amount of value that we deliver in the higher education industry. We will continue to partner with you to deliver innovation, partnership with the ecosystem that you mentioned, partnership with the large education industry customers that we both share, and an opportunity to continue to deliver value now and be ready for what's next, right? What's next in technology that can continue to drive opportunity for more efficiency and better experiences for our higher education customers. So I can't thank you enough for spending time with me and with Emburse, and we look forward to sharing more with all of our mutual customers in the upcoming months. Thank you very much.
We really enjoy partnering with you. It's been a great relationship. You might have another award coming this year, nothing announced yet, but you've been great partners. You've really helped to go from that initial 8 customers to 260, changed your business to be able to support it, work with product to kind of align more effectively, meet the needs of the higher education marketplace, which not everybody does, and it's really impactful, not only to Ellucian as your partner, but directly to, some of those customers you referred earlier, but I think across all 260 of them.
Thanks so much, Zach. And thank
you
everyone for listening.